It's 46 seconds long. 46 seconds. That's how long Minor Threat's Straight Edge runs. And in those 46 seconds, Ian MacKaye rewrote the rules of what it meant to be in the hardcore scene. He didn't write the musical rules, but the behavioral ones. In a subculture that had inherited rock and roll's entire vocabulary of self-destruction, the drinking, the drugs, the deliberate burning of everything in reach. A 20-year-old from Washington, D.C. stood up and said, "I have better things to do." The scene has never fully recovered from that statement, and it wasn't supposed to. To understand what straight edge was, you have to understand what it was pushing against. Punk had inherited rock and roll's self-destruction mythology. The Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Ramones. The entire first wave operated in a register where excess was authenticity. Drinking, drugs, chaos. These weren't just personal choices. They were ideological statements. You proved your rejection of the mainstream values by destroying yourself in public. But by 1981, hardcore had inherited that mythology and was amplifying it at twice the speed. Shows were absolutely volatile. Scenes were running on adrenaline and alcohol. The energy was real, but so was the damage. Ian MacKaye had been watching. Formed in Washington, D.C. in 1980, Minor Threat came out of the same Teen Idol's infrastructure that had been building the D.C. scene from the ground up. MacKaye had seen what the substance culture was doing to the people around him. Not moralizing about it, observing it. In deciding he wanted no part of it. Straight Edge, the song, it's not a lecture, but it is a declaration. I'm a person just like you, but I've got better things to do than sit around and smoke dope because I know I can cope. No condemnation, no rules imposed from the outside, just a first-person statement of refusal. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I do not use. Not because someone told me not to, because I decided for myself. MacKaye's logic was structural rather than moralistic. The system wants you drunk and compliant. Sobriety is a form of resistance. Clarity is a weapon. That framing changed everything because it took what looked like personal lifestyle choice and turned it into a political position. You weren't just choosing not to drink. You were refusing the self-destruction the system was offering as the primary available comfort to the generation that it had just failed.
Around the time I decided to, form this band, taking lessons and stuff, I stopped going out with my friends that typically I would, like on the weekend, I'd go out with my friends and we'd, drink in the woods, or I was getting into a lot of trouble. I knew if I was going to do this band.
And here's the counter argument, and it gets made constantly. Straight edge became its own form of conformity. The X on the hand that started as a personal statement eventually became a membership credential. The movement that rejected rules created its own rules and enforced them. That tension is real. And I think it's worth understanding precisely because it explains everything that happened next. The X on the hand started as a practical symbol. Bouncers at 21 and over venues marked underage attendees with an X on the back of their hand so they could identify them. Straight edge kids took that mark of exclusion but turned it into a badge of honor. We're not excluded, we're choosing. That inversion was the movement's most powerful gesture. A symbol designed to limit access, repurposed as a declaration of self-determination. What straight edge did structurally was introduce conditional belonging to a scene built on unconditional access. Before straight edge, showing up to a show wasn't enough.
Get your ideas! Move out the door! I don't give a shit!
Before straight edge, showing up was enough. Pay to cover, enter the pit, you're in. After straight edge, genuine membership in the community, not just physical presence at its events, had required criteria. That is a structural shift as significant as any musical one. And MacKaye himself never intended it to become a movement. He wrote a song about his own choices. Other people turned it into an ideology, then a tribe, then a set of enforcement mechanisms that produced exactly the kind of rigidity hardcore had originally defined itself against. The irony is perfect and completely inevitable.
I don't accept it as a movement. Doesn't mean that people who do, I think, are dumb or wrong, or it just means that I see people as people. It was always, in my mind, celebration of an individual's right to choose his or her life, like way of living. The problem with movements is that movements start to lose, I think, quite often, sight of humanity, like human beings, individuals. And I think in straight edge's
legacy runs in two directions at the same time. On one side, a genuine philosophical contribution to the question of what resistance looks like. The recognition that self-destruction serves the system. That clarity is political. That sobriety is not weakness. But on the other, a cautionary tale about what happens when a personal declaration becomes a community requirement. The same gatekeeping it rejected, rebuilt from the inside. And both things are true, and both matter. MacKaye wrote a 46-second song about his own choices. The hardcore scene turned it into a 40-year argument about authenticity, about belonging, and about who gets to decide what resistance actually looks like. That argument still runs. I wasn't straight edge, but were you? Or did you know someone who was? Give me a story, drop it below, because every riff tells a story.